Hey, hey, hey. How are you doing today? Welcome, welcome, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday, right? Okay, welcome. We are here at the Kingdom Builders Credit Repair TV show. That's right, where we reveal credit and financial tips with me, Michelle Green. Thank you so much for watching again. Thank you for being subscribed. And if you are not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. And listen, did you know that we are powered by the CTR Media Network, where we are streaming over 140 countries all throughout the globe? This is where billions of people are watching us every single week. So why are you not subscribed? I don't understand. I don't know why you are not subscribed, because others are getting the information to change their lives with credit and finances. That's what it's all about. Listen, we have a Kingdom Builders Credit Repair TV show, and we have Kingdom Builders Credit Repair. If you need credit repair or financial services, I've been in the financial industry for over 30 plus years. So you don't have to wonder if you're going to get the correct information. We specialize in helping you with your particular credit situation. And today we are going to get into the 4 credit mistakes that drain your future and how to fix them. What are the 4 things that really take away your future with as it relates to credit and finances? Listen, we're going to talk about it in just a minute. But as always, what do? We first love to explain to you what credit is so that you are not confused out there about what credit actually is, how it works. And that's why we created this show for all of our clients, for all of the people that we are connected with, and to make sure that you're exercising your credit the right way. Woo! Yes. So, what is credit? Credit is the ability for you as you're working and earning an income, and then you realize, like, wait a minute, I don't have enough money to pay for a vehicle. I don't have enough money to buy a house. I don't have enough money to get the clothes. You know, we like to dress well, right? So, we don't have enough money to buy our clothes or our shoes. We don't have enough money to look good and take care of all of our grooming as it relates to our bodies. So, what do? We go and we borrow the money so that we can pay all of the debt that we borrow back later. And we do this through some sort of a financial institution. Well, a financial institution is nothing more than a bank or a credit union or some organization that has a system that allows you to be lent money in exchange for a interest rate, in exchange for you to be able to pay them back at a later time instead of right now. So some of the credit lines will specialize in vehicles, some of them will specialize in furniture, some of them specialize in mortgages, some of them specialize in specific department store companies such as your Targets, your Walmarts, your whoever, Sam's, whoever it is. What happens is they lend you the money because you don't have the money right now to borrow from. So that is what credit is in a nutshell. So never ever be confused around why you need credit, because every single person on the face of this earth at some point in time is going to run into that situation. Okay, you're going to run into a situation at some point in time in your life, whether it's at the beginning of your life where you are just fresh out of high school going into college, and you realize, like, wait a minute, I don't have enough money to take care of my basic necessities. So how can I solve that problem? You solve that problem by gaining credit, but you gotta have the right mindset around credit. You can't just decide. Well, you could decide, but I don't recommend that you decide to just go at it from the angle of, I'm just going to go out here and borrow as much stuff that I can, as much money as I can from every single kind of creditor that exists, no matter what they're offering, and have the wrong mindset of not paying these people back. That's the kicker. That's the reason why so many of us fail in the credit industry, because we don't understand that having credit means that we want to keep a really good reputation with our creditors and lenders. Every time we fail at paying back a lender or creditor, it ruins our reputation a little bit more and a little bit more. So we want to stay away from the arena of gaining debt and having no plan to pay the debt back. Which leads me to my first topic around the mistakes that drain our future. So what drains our future is what's going on right now in the economy. People are being eaten alive by credit card debt, okay? Because one of the things that happens when we first get out of high school and we go to college, and even if we don't go to college, or if we're just out here in the world and we're in the beginning stages of dealing with finances, that is, we get into credit card debt. That's right. Credit card debt is the killer. It is the thing that I'm sorry. It is the thing that allows us to become so stagnant as it relates to our businesses, our livelihood, our finances, how we manage our life, period. So when I say credit card debt, because majority of people, when we go into the credit card arena, what tends to happen is we get the credit card really with no understanding of how to manage the credit card. And we also don't understand that the interest rate on the credit card debt is tremendous in most scenarios. Why? Because the credit card company does not know you, and they give you an opportunity to get to know you, but they get to know you on a basis of what? Looking at where your credit is right now in that moment that you apply for credit. So if you're fresh off the block, if you are fresh into your first time gaining a line of credit and it's a credit card or a department store card, then what happens is that credit card company, not knowing anything, not having any previous history about you, not having any record of whether or not you're going to be the kind of person to actually pay them back or not, then they are going to do one of two things: either give you a very little amount of credit, require you to put your own money down on the credit so that you can have a reputation with them by their name and not by their money, or they are going to charge you a very large interest rate. And many of us are really confused around what is an interest rate in the first place. Well, let's break it down. And I will say that in most cases with credit cards, when you are just starting out with a credit card or a department store card, they're probably going to do all three. They're going to charge you a small amount. They're going to give you a small amount of credit line. So that's like $200 or $300. And don't be mad because they don't know you. So if they don't have a reputation of what you're going to do by paying them back, then you can best guarantee that they're not going to give you a lot of credit. Then, secondly, they probably will require that you put the money down yourself in order to gain the credibility with them. So, the credit card company will require you to put down the money, and they will also require for there to be a small amount of credit line that they will allow you to gain. Now, if you're willing to put down $1,000 or more of a down payment towards that credit card or department store card, then yes, you have that opportunity, you have that right. However, most people are not in a position to really have $1,000 or even $500 to put down on a credit card when they're first starting out. So what do? We start with $200 or $300, and that is normal. And they also will charge the interest rate at a very high percentage. So your annual percentage interest rate is nothing more than them saying, if you happen to decide that you're going to use all of the money on the credit card Even if you put the money there, the way that credit cards work is that you're never supposed to use all of the money on the credit card. You're only supposed to use a percentage, and that is under 30%, preferably 10 to 15% of whatever the credit limit is. So the reason why the credit card companies protect themselves and the reason why we make these mistakes that drain our future is because we don't understand that when we get the credit, we are never supposed to use the entire balance of what we are borrowing, even though it's our money that we put on the card. Even if we put the security deposit there, it's still not necessarily our money. It is the limit of the line of credit that we're looking at, and we have to stay below a 30% or less range. Now, the interest rate is the problem for most of us in nowadays, as well as in the previous history of credit altogether. Even before I started doing credit, and I've been in the credit industry for over 30 plus years. Listen, interest is the ability for if you have a credit line of, let's say, $200 to $300, then and you decide that you're going to use all of that, then the bank or the credit union, whoever the financial institution is, they are absolutely going to charge you a high interest rate, which means that they don't trust you. They don't trust that you are going to pay back what you say. So they are going to ask you for not just the $200 or $300, but money in addition to the $200 or $300. And that's why interest rates are draining our future. It is taking away everything as it relates to our ability to have a really good credit score. Why is that? Because interest rates on credit cards and department store cards are averaging about 25 to 30% interest. So if you say, I borrowed $200 or $300, right? You borrowed $200 or $300, and then what is 25% of $200? What is 30% of $300? That's the calculation of whatever that number comes to. That's going to be the amount of money that you have to pay back in addition to the balance every 30 days if you do not pay the balance back down. So that's why it's so important for us to understand how credit works, because if we don't understand how credit works, then we are going to drain our future every time. We are going to just take our whole future away because we're going to spend the rest of our life trying to pay the debt back. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Listen, we got to change the way that we think about that. So, as it relates to not just credit cards and department store cards, but because that is the entryway of how we get into debt, we always seem to start with the credit card. We start with the department store card. We start with some type of card in order for us to begin our journey with credit. And it's nothing wrong with that if only we would understand the interest rate is always going to eat us alive if we're using the majority of the balance on the credit card. That's why I tell you every time, know and understand your credit. We are here to empower people to have financial dominion on purpose. And in order to do that, you cannot just walk away thinking that if I have this credit card, I'll just go get another card, and I'll go get another card, and I'll go get another card, and think that you are getting yourself out of debt by getting multiple credit cards and practicing the same routine. Okay, you will not get out of debt that way. It will crush your future. It will take away everything, every opportunity that you could have had if you would just learn how to manage the credit properly. So that is the major thing that is happening right now. The credit cards are draining people's lives. It is draining our future. It is causing us not to be in the right position to be able to handle our future credit life. That's right. The life of our credit, the lifetime. Think about how long you're going to need credit. And as long as there is breath in your body, you are going to need credit. I am going to need credit because there are always going to be different scenarios around how this situation of our finances work and whether or not we will have enough cash from the jobs or the businesses that we worked on, and whether or not we will be able to finance or provide for the full outright pay of whatever it is that we need. When I say outright pay, I'm talking about being able to pay off a vehicle, being able to pay off a house. Will we have enough money? And if we don't, then we will have to finance something. And that means that we will have to get into this credit arena where we have to finance it and pay the debt back with interest. So understand how interest work. Interest is simply the ability for you to be charged more money than what you originally borrowed. Whatever your credit limit is, whatever your credit balance is, the total payoff every single 30 days, you are going to be required to pay some kind of interest, okay? You cannot get away with not paying interest to pretty much any lender or any creditor. So as long as you are participating in the credit game, you will have to pay interest. So let's change our mindset around how we can stop charging up the entire balance on our cards or our department store credit cards, on our regular credit cards, or even in our loans. We don't have to use the entire amount of the loan that we borrow. Okay? So, what are we also doing as it relates to those loans? We're looking at the mortgages, the credit cards, the car notes. We're looking at the student loans and how people are stacking up debt and acting like it's all good. We have the wrong mindset. So let's look at the root problem of drowning in debt and pretending like it's normal. The root problem is that we are acting as though this is something that everybody is doing and that nobody on the face of this earth is trying to get out of debt. Well, that is not the truth. That is not the truth. So, our mindset around debt, around credit has to change. What am I talking about? When you get your paycheck. The reason why we're doing this show in the first place on a Friday is because Friday is usually the day that majority of the people in the world get paid. So when you get your paycheck, what is the first thing that you decide to do with it? Most people are going to look at feeding their face, okay? We're going to look at eating. So how much money goes into your eating process? Well, how much money goes into you going out to eat versus you actually buying groceries and being able to go home and cook? Okay. When we talk about drowning in debt, we take a blind eye. We just like do like this. Oh, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. We cover our eyes on the debt that we actually owe because what happens is we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to, because everybody else is kind of pretending and hiding the fact that we are in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Some of us even millions of dollars of debt. We don't want to talk about it, so we ignore it. We turn a blind eye to the debt. And what happens is that when we get our paychecks normally, we get those paychecks and we decide that we're not going to look at what we actually owe and who we need to pay back. We're just going to pretend like it doesn't exist and go out and feed our faces. Our number one problem in the credit industry is eating. Our number one problem in this United States of America, where I am, is that we eat too much. Okay, we are consumed by food. We are consumed by how much food we can obtain in one sitting. We are consumed by how much, what kind of food we want to eat, and thinking that, oh, well, it's just okay for us to just do whatever we want to do as it relates to where we're going to eat every day, whether or not we're going to buy the groceries. And even if we buy the groceries, we're even buying groceries and still eating out. So how can we get out of drowning into debt? The second mistake that we make of drowning into debt is simply by having the wrong mindset of ignoring the debt. Now, some of us may not be overeating, like just constantly going out to eat or constantly buying groceries that we don't actually use, being wasteful, not actually cooking the food that we buy, but allowing the food to rot in our refrigerator or in our pantries. But some of us are doing the right thing as it relates to food, but I can say that a majority of us are not doing the right thing around food. And even if it's not around food, what is it around? Maybe it's around your grooming. Maybe you're shopping too much. Whatever you're doing that causes you to ignore and put a blind eye to the debt that you owe is the problem. That is what we need to take off the covering from our eyes and be able to see, like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? I know I owe these people. I know I have all of this debt to pay back. Why are you not trying to put together a strategy so that you can pay the people back that you owe? So, one of the biggest mistakes after we look at that credit card debt and even the loan debt and the interest rate is the fact that we ignore the debts. Stop ignoring your debts. Realize that if you don't take a handle on this debt right now, if you don't begin to hold it and look at it in its face and face the fear of not being able to pay back the debt, you got to look at what your numbers actually are. You got to look at, like, hey, this is what I did. This is not anybody else's fault but mine. And even for those of us who sign our names to other people saying that we would be accountable if they didn't pay the debt back. That's called a cosigner or authorized user. That is why we do not recommend that you are being a cosigner or signing your name for anybody else's debt. Whenever you do sign your name, make sure you get something that is worth the same value that they can give you before you sign your name to something that you might not be able to pay back on their behalf. We gotta stop this mindset of ignoring the truth, y'all. We have to come to the reality of we are not to just ignore because we feel like it's overwhelming, because we are afraid, because we don't have someone to teach us how to actually manage the money as it comes in and how to distribute that money to the right people, to the right creditors, to the right debtors. Listen, we have to still have that mindset that we got to face the truth. So, in facing the truth, that is why we're here, y'all. Kingdom Builders Credit Repair is here to help you face your truth. Kingdom Builders Credit Repair exists simply because we want to help you to understand how to manage a budget, how to set up a budget, how to bring in the paycheck, and really, before you decide to feed your face, before you decide to go and obtain that hobby that you love, that thing that causes you to have relaxation, that thing that you've been paying for over and over again, and you know that's where all your money is going. Listen, before you do any of that, we can help you to figure out what you're doing and how to rearrange the money and where it's supposed to go. That's right. That is mistake number 2, ignoring your debt. Number 3, what are we talking about here? We're talking about how we are dependent on the systems of this world to take care of us. Okay? How many of us are angry at the governmental system? How many of us are angry at the way that the rules and regulations are arranged in our city, in our state, in our county, in our nation, in our continent? How many of us are just really kind of teed off at the fact that, okay, well, it's their fault. It's their fault. We don't have a system in place to get people out of debt. Everybody should be able to eat freely. Everybody should be able to have whatever they need to drink freely. That's maybe your mindset, but the truth of the matter is This is a mistake that we're making that is costing our future. The mistake that we're making to cost our future is simply to depend on the systems to provide a resolution for our own mistakes. Woo! Yes, we are dependent on the government to save us. We are dependent on the systems of the world. We're dependent on whether or not we can get some food stamps. We're dependent on whether or not we can get some type of medical services. We're dependent on even for them to take care of the money that we earn so that we can go out in the world and obtain whatever necessities are needed for our livelihood. And that is not the government's responsibility, even though it is the government's responsibility, if you understand what I'm saying. So we are making the third mistake by simply depending on systems that we can change. Who told you that you had to depend on the systems? Who told you that the only way that you could overcome your debt and your finances was by when somebody gives you something? Why are we dependent on people to give us something when we have our right minds, we have our bodies, we have the ability, even if we are missing some limbs? Listen, we have the ability to be able to earn an income. And especially if you're in the United States of America, there is no excuse. This is the land of the free. When I say free, that gives you the opportunity to be able to go out here and earn a living however you desire. That's right. It doesn't mean that you depend on the job. It does not mean that you depend on the systems of the government. You do not have to rely on any system except your own. That's right. You can decide, okay, what kind of rules and regulations do I want to establish about my finances and about my credit? Set your goals and then go out to achieve them. Come up with a solution. Come up with a gift, a skill, a talent that you can begin to utilize and put out there in the marketplace and sell your product or service and do what it is that you need to do to make some money. It is time for us to stop making the excuses to decide that other people are going to continuously allow our future to be something that we don't even want it to be. So we got to change that by making the decision that we are no longer dependent on the systems and the governments of this world in order for us to have a great future. That is not where we are supposed to be with our future. Our life is not dependent on that. Okay? And I just think somebody needs to hear and understand that today. So that's why we got to understand, stop making the mistake draining your future around dependent on the systems and governments to give you something when you haven't given it anything. You haven't done anything for it in per se. Maybe you have given some through the workforce by you working and paying taxes, but there wasn't anything written that said that you were supposed to receive something back in return. So why are you depending on that for your future? This is your livelihood. This is your finances. This is the way that you are saying that you're going to depend on people that don't even know you, that look at you as a number, and you're going to depend on them to decide on whether or not you have a good future or not. Like, that is not okay, y'all. It's not okay for you to do that. So I'm telling you right now, go ahead and release yourself from that mindset that you have to depend on the government in order for you to be able to have a great future. All right. Now, my last point, and I'm almost at time, is the fact that we are allowing our future to be drained because we are obtaining these buy now, pay later type of situations with credit. Listen, we talked about at the beginning the interest rate. Do we not understand that when we obtain any kind of alternative credit, that alternative credit is going to charge an even higher interest rate than credit card debt? Are you hearing me? Credit card debt charges 25 to 30%. Some of the buy now, pay later options, which is alternative to the traditional lines of credit. This is the type of credit where they say, okay, come on over. We're going to allow you to go into this credit line because your credit score may be low and you need some furniture, you need whatever, you need to fix your car. So maybe you need some tires, maybe you need to remodel your house, maybe you need to, maybe take a flight somewhere. But they give you these alternative options, but they do charge you sneakily in a way where if you don't complete the terms within a certain time period, then you wait afterwards and you continue to pay on that buy now, pay later option, you're going to accrue almost 300% of debt. That's right. So you may have started out with a $500 a loan for furniture, or maybe you decided to go and get a airline flight ticket that costs $1,000. Well, that $1,500 to $1,000 would turn into anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 if you are not carefully paying back the buy now, pay later option in a time frame that they require you to pay it back. So the fourth mistake that we're making is that too many of us have ruined our credit because we started out really good, but then we got too much debt. We ignored it. We decided to depend on the government to solve our financial solutions. And now we're having to turn to alternative credit, alternative debt. And the alternative debt is locking us in and choking us out, y'all. It is locking us in and choking the life out of our future. It is draining us. It's dragging us. It is causing us not to be able to see the light of day. So I urge you in today's message to stop the cycles. The cycles have to stop. Get out of your buy now, pay later option. Stop depending on the government to plan out your future. Get into the right frame of mind of facing your fear of how much debt you owe and stop accruing these high interest rate options for your credit cards, your department store cards, and any type of loan. And you can have a much better future than what you ever dreamed of before. Listen, thank you for watching. Make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure that you share this video with a friend or family member so that they can begin to change their credit and their financial lifestyle. Because I'm trying to tell you, like, these are just not your everyday options. Everybody is not trying to help you to win. But we at KBCR definitely want to see you at the top of the financial equation. So don't hold this information. Don't be a gatekeeper. Go ahead and share this information today. Make sure that you're always subscribed and set your notification. That little bell button at the top of the screen of YouTube or whatever system that you're watching, whatever platform you're watching, make sure your notifications are set so that you never ever miss another episode of the KBCR TV show right here with me, Michelle Green, every Friday from 12:30 to 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, powered by CTR Media Network. All right, until next Friday, guys, thank you again for staying with me, and I will see you at the top. Bye-bye. Take care.
Are you ready to win money for you or your business? It's the party of all times, the Media and Wealth Summit, Saturday, October 11th in Columbia, South Carolina. CTR Media Network and KBBU presents a one-day explosion. Cash, electronics, and grant giveaways, credit secrets, investments, logos, business startups. Become a podcast and TV host with global exposure to 350 million households. Meet DJ Prince Ice, The Savages from Wow Studio One, Soul Food, line dancing, and swag bags. Get tickets now at KBBULLC.com. KBBULLC.com.